how do you compare like living in Europe and living in Marbella compared to living in Miami? What's the, for people watching, what do you think?
Yeah, because you might assume that these two places are somewhat similar. But honestly, I just love Europe. I think there's so many things that I think are better about Europe than America, and you can make the same argument conversely too. America's a land of convenience. I'll say that much. You know what's gonna, the CVS, the aisles are all exactly the same. You know exactly where everything is. If you go into any CVS, if you get off an interstate, you know there's gonna be a 7-Eleven there. You know there's gonna be a Holiday Inn there. You know there's gonna be a Macca's there, McDonald's. Like you know where all these things are gonna be. It's really cookie cutter and convenient, and the customer service is through the roof. Spain customer service is so-so. I'll say that much. But it's just so much healthier. The food it's night and day. You don't realize how bad the food is in America until especially if you've grown up there. But if you live there for a few years eating and then you eat in Europe, it's just like a light switch. You're not poisoning yourself anymore. It's really hard to describe to someone who's never had that kind of transition. But I noticed it instantly. Food's way better. I just generally like European people. I get along with, especially like British people, I get along with them easier. There's something about the way that, like Australians and English and Irish and Scots, we all have a very, very similar sense of humor, demeanor, character, and you relate to people like instantly, I feel. And that's what I noticed that when I was in America, anytime if I met someone who was English or Australian or whatever, we'd get along instantly. Whereas I found Americans to be a lot tougher nut to crack. I found them at least to be a lot more kind of closed off. And
I think because I lived in California for 2-3 years with my time during the UFC, and I lived in Oregon for about 6 months training with Chael. And I lived in Salt Lake City for a couple of months. I moved over to America quite a bit. And I was on The Ultimate Fighter for 8 weeks with a load of American guys. So I know it sounds silly, but when you're on reality TV and you have no phones and you have no TV and all you have is the people in the place, there was 14 of us, so you get to know them very, very, very well. And the guy I got on with the best was, there was a Swedish guy I got on with the best, but out of the Americans was a kid from Boston. His name's Jimmy Quinlan. And that's what I found when I lived in California. I think Americans, you said they're closed off. I believe that they're playing a character. Whereas I feel like Europeans, especially English, and the people you just like Irish, we're genuine. Because we're taught, like from being kids, like that's what it's about. Whereas
they wear their heart on their sleeve a bit more.
Yeah, that's which we all say, and I would subscribe myself exactly like that. I am who I am, heart on sleeve, boom. Whereas in America, it's much more like you're told to have a face, to have a persona, to be and I think the way the economies, I mean, I don't know if you know much about working in America, but they get like 10 days holiday a year. Yeah. So as you're growing up and your dad's going to work every day, like you spend very, very little time spending with your parents, and you're raised by TV. My opinion. This is just my opinion, So I feel like the TV in America is so strong and the culture is so strong that everyone tries to live up to be this face and this person that they're not really are. Whereas in Europe, it's tradition, culture, your family name. You're taught to be yourself. You should always be yourself. You should always be yourself. There's no one better than you. That's like the whole thing you're taught in Europe. Whereas I feel like in America, they're like, no, don't be you. You want to be a celebrity. You want to be this guy. You want to be the guy on TV. Whereas I think that's the difference, having a similar experience.
Yeah. When I say they're a bit more closed off and guarded, Americans in general, I think it seems like ego protection in a way. That's just the way it comes across to me, as people trying to not look like an idiot. Trying to save face a bit more, whereas English, Irish, Scott, like we'll take the piss out of ourselves all the time. It's the total opposite of trying to save face.
Like with the English, we're self-deprecating. Like you said, we put ourselves down. Yeah. It's like culture. Put yourself down. Yeah. Don't be bigger than the next person next to you. Be like low. Whereas America is all about being the best.
Yeah.
So it's that's what I'm saying, where they have to be the best. So they have to pretend that they're the best because that's what they've been told. You're going to be the best. Whereas we're told, you're a piece of shit. But like in a fun way. Like
yeah, but it's in a fun way. It's not. I like the whole. You could make the argument that self-deprecating humor is bad because because you're talking to yourself in a negative way, it'll affect your self-image. But I never really found that so much.
I think there's definitely, and I've actually gone through a bit of a thing the last few years about that, and I 100% agree. I do actually think it has a very negative onset to your internal dialogue. I think being the culture we are, where you insult yourself and you make jokes, and I think it does affect your internally, but it keeps you grounded. So you become a grounded person, which I think is super important. Whereas in the States, I think there's much less grounded people because everyone's trying to live, this lofty lifestyle and be the best, and I'm the best, and America's the best, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas we're more real. But there's a place to be real, to be yourself, and to live your true self, but also think you're the fucking man, which comes with time. But when you're like in England, probably in Australia, when you're at school, and if you say something that you'll instantly like have 5 people say, no, don't be like that, you're a dickhead. Like it's a cultural thing. So again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the American way. I'm not saying anything's better or worse. Yeah. I'm just saying we were raised that way, so I think that's why you connect.
I'm just trying to explain the differences I've seen in the cultures. I'm not trying to make a value judgment on them. Mm-hmm. But that's that we just described with you say you're going to do something and everyone's telling you no. That's tall poppy syndrome. We get that all. That's a very Australian thing too.
Okay, tall poppy syndrome.
The tallest poppy is the one that gets cut
down.
Right. So that's very much. That's why there's not really there's not an entrepreneurial culture in Australia like there is in America. America's the total opposite. America, like the tall. If you stand out, you get the squeaky wheel gets the grease. America, it's the total opposite. If you stand out, you get all the praise, you get all the fame, you get all the celebrity. That's why there's such a big influencer culture in America, like Twitch and TikTok and all these things blow up over there. YouTubers blowing up over there, right? In Australia, there's and maybe similarly in England, that culture doesn't really exist. It's very much like, who do you think you are? Big boots over here, trying to be all special and different. What's up with that? Be humble. Be who that's very much the culture.
And that's the downside.
That's the downside.
That's the downside. So having the mix, and again, you're a fortunate guy who's lived at home, traveled to America, traveled to Europe, so you see it. I'm the same. I'm very well traveled, so I see it. Some people that just live in their towns, they don't even understand this dynamic. They don't know. So it's, again, the Americans, not their fault for overreaching. It's actually better to overreach than it is to try and be the normal sized poppy, not the tall poppy, the small poppy.
Yeah, I guess.